So I've always liked the name Claire, but as of today, I can honestly say that I love the name Claire. So today, movie of the day is Letters to Juliet, and this wonderful woman named Claire writes a letter to Juliet from like Romeo and Juliet. Like in Verona, they have I didn't notice, but in Verona they have this wall where you can leave a letter to Juliet. And then I actually didn't fact check this, so I don't know if that's actually there, but I believe it could be. And there are these women who write back letters. They are the secretaries of Juliet, who are paid by the municipality of Verona, who write back to the people who write these letters, mostly women. And and so one of the people who wrote a letter to Juliet back in 1957 was Claire. And her letter was found by Sophie, kind of one of the, I would say, three main people in this movie. Four, depending on whether you count Victor as a main person. Because he's not there a lot. If you know what I mean. But yeah, so the story is about Sophia, who is engaged to Victor. And they together, before they get married, go on a pre-honeymoon holiday kind of thing to Verona, which apparently is the city of love. I thought that was Paris, but apparently it's Verona. I don't know. I'm not so sure at the moment anymore. But in the movie they say it's the city of love. So they go to Verona together. And as before Sophie leaves, she goes to her boss and she asks, like, hey, can I write when I'm there? And he's like, well, you're a wonderful fact checker, which I did not know fact checker was a job. I was not aware of this. I was not aware that that was an actual job. But it's kind of cool, right? It's kind of like being a private investigator for stories, which sounds really cool as a job. Like, to be honest, that's kind of awesome. So, but then they go to Verona, with the two of them, and so a little bit of background. She is a wannabe writer, fact checker, and he is starting his own restaurant in 6 weeks. But Victor's very restaurant obsessed. Like, I have to say, even when I saw them first together in the movie, I was like, whoa, okay, this guy is obsessed with pasta, and I get that pasta is amazing and all that stuff, but it was a little bit much for me. Let's just keep it at that. So then they go to Verona, and they are in the car, and Victor's like, yeah, you should follow your dreams. You should write. You should tell your boss that you want to write. That's important. And then she finds, or she travels with him because he wants to, for work, for his restaurants, he wants to find all these suppliers. And I mean, he's a bit obsessive. I mean, I guess I know that's good because it's his restaurant. It's what he wants to do. It's what he loves. But for her, I mean, it must be, and you can see that too. It must be so hard to deal with that all the time. It's like when he was trying the cheese, and he got so excited by that cheese, and then he was like, I wish I was a little mouse living in a cheese cave. And I was like, wait, Victor, are you okay? Like, that's a little bit much, buddy. So but it's like all these different things, and then he's like and he's like about to jump out of his skin or something, and I was like, wait, hold on, buddy. I think you were on a holiday with your woman before you marry her, but apparently you're on a holiday to find the suppliers. So then I was like, oh wait, the holiday was never meant to be a holiday, the two of them, which becomes even more clear when Victor keeps saying these things. That's like, it's a win-win, you go do this, I'll go do that, we don't see each other all day, that's a win-win. What? How is that a win-win? The good thing is though that that Sophie goes to find the wall with the letters to Juliet, with these women pouring their hearts out in these letters, and then this Italian woman like crying and talking to Sophie, and she's just like, I don't know what you're saying, but I feel for you. And then she follows one of these women who is taking the cards down at the end of the day, and she comes into this writer's room, and she's just blown away by how amazing it is. and it's just so fascinating, right? And these women are just wonderful as well. Like they all have this amazing story, and one of the women said, I love this one. She was like, husbands are like wine, they take a long time to mature. And I was like, oh my gosh. That fits so well with the saying that, what was it? It wasn't a saying, but it's a thing that I've been hearing a lot these days. That it's like, no, guys take longer than girls to grow up. Like, you need at least 3 more years for that guy to be as grown up as you are at this age. So, which I think was backed by some research that they said that women generally go for guys that are older than them and around like 3 years older than them. And I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. So, and then Sophie doesn't stay for dinner. But she gets a dessert from the mother of one of the girls with her, and one of the Italians, which just reminded me of one of my friends who's also from Italy. One of the Italians, she was like, "You Americani, always in a rush." And I was like, yeah, I'm doing it terrible. I'm so sorry if I'm hurting Italian feelings right now, because I do a terrible impression of that. But I do love the way Italians talk, because there's so much passion in that. That's just amazing. But then she comes home with this food and this whole story, and she starts to talk to Victor, starts to tell him the story. And he doesn't listen to her story. All he focuses on is the smell that comes from this bag, and he tries the food, and then he's super obsessed with the food, but he doesn't actually listen to her. So I get that I guess she fell for him because of his passion, right? She fell for him because of his passion with food and with work and with the restaurant and everything. But he doesn't really listen. He doesn't really focus on her. Like, he doesn't really pay attention. And I was like, is that really what you want, girl? Like, do you want to marry somebody who doesn't pay attention when you speak? Who's just like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then gives good advice, but gives good advice that he would give to himself, right? Go after your dreams, do your thing, make it a win-win. He always says, oh, I dislike this a lot about Victor. I in general, I get Victor. I don't dislike Victor, but I like this character, or dislike this character trait of him, where he was like, I don't have to go, it would be amazing, but if you're not comfortable, then I can stay here. Like, he said it in a way that made her feel guilty for starting about it in the first place. Instead of actually taking her opinion into account, he would be like, well, I mean, if you really want me to stay, I mean, this would be a wonderful opportunity for me, and I was really looking forward to it, but I mean, I can stay if you want. And I was like, nobody's gonna say that you have to stay then. Of course not, and you know that. So what are you even doing here? That's so mean. I just thought that was wrong. And then, so then they go back to these women, and then it's like, okay, Sophie, you can write with these women, and I'll cook with this lady who can teach me so much about pasta and blah blah blah. And then she says to one of the ladies that he never got her an engagement ring, and she says that it was her idea. But I was listening, I was like, I'm not so sure. It sounded a bit like he forgot, you know, like he forgot to buy her an engagement ring when he got engaged. And I was like, like, his restaurant is everything to him, but you can't be married to somebody who puts his restaurant before you. Like, I get that that's his passion, that's what he wants to do, but why would you marry somebody who puts somebody else, or not even somebody, something else before you? That's not, I don't think that that's the right way to go. But then Sophie writes and joins these women to write letters, and she writes a letter to Claire, and she has the most amazing day, right? She writes, he pushes her to go with him, obviously also because he wants to cook, but also because it's her passion. So I do feel like he puts advice for himself onto her, but it works for her too. However, it does mean that they it just shows you like, hey, these are two very passionate people, but they don't work together. And and when the ladies read one of the letters, like, oh, there's this girl, she wrote, Juliet, is there anything worse in this world than a man? And then one of the women in Spanish, in Italian, answered, yes, two men. It just made me laugh so hard. Okay. And there are these amazing quotes, right? It's like, I didn't know true love had an expiration date. When Charlie, the grandson of Claire, walks in and he's like, what were you thinking? And she's like, what do you mean? And they get in this argument and she speaks up for herself. This is the thing I loved in her, in all her conversations to Charlie. She would just be like, heck no, I'm not taking crap from you. And she would just kind of fire back at him because he was, oh my goodness, he behaved like a brat. Are you kidding me? He behaved so rude and mean. I was like, why? Like, he behaved like an ass. But she speaks up against him. And later in the movie he also says, like, you bring out the worst in me. And she's like, what? But then again, he brings out the strong woman in her who speaks up for herself, who doesn't take any crap, even though with her fiance, she's like, okay, well, blah, 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 blah. With him, she's like head on, like, heck no. Which I really like, because it makes her stand up for herself more often in the movie. So then she follows Charlie to find Claire. And then Claire tells the story of her and Lorenzo to the Juliets and to Sophie and to Charlie at this wonderful dinner table, which made me think, I want a dinner table that is so big that you're always welcome. Like, anybody can join for dinner, always. I love that idea of, like, family can always sit at the table, or people are always welcome at the dinner table. I love that. So, yeah, that was a little bit I thought about when I saw that. So, and then Charlie, like, Claire tells this amazing story of her and Lorenzo, and it's beautiful. And then Charlie is like the realist Englishman who has no romantic bone in his body, says this Italian woman. I love these Italian women, like, honestly. And Sophie is like, hey, I want to come with you, but, like, there is something in here. Like, it's not selfless. There is something in here for me. I want to write the story. And Claire is like, yeah, sure. And Sophie doesn't let Charlie's frustration with her stop her from going after her dreams. And I mean, at the beginning, everywhere they go, like when Sophie tells a story, when Clara tells a story, and then Charlie's there just with the sarcasm and the skepticism, like, what's so romantic about eating in the dirt? And, but then Claire talks about Lorenzo, talking about the earth and the water, and it's so beautiful, and it just, I loved it. And so, yeah, Claire explains that Charlie is a bit of a skeptic, like his dad, who said that love is nothing but hormones. And then Sophie tells Claire that her mom left when she was 9, and left. Not died, which I know is horrible when people die. But when people die, which she later finds out that Charlie's parents have died in a car crash. Here's the thing about people dying versus people leaving. When people die, they like Charlie's parents dying was they loved him so much. And they got into a car accident and they died. But they loved him. Sophie's mom left. She walks out. That is worse than people dying. Because when people die, they loved you, you loved them, and they were taken from you. But when people walk out, they leave on purpose. They leave you, and that leaves this feeling, of you not being good enough, you not being important enough to them, and it makes it so much harder, I think, to move on from something like that. Because if people can just walk out and not come back because I don't know, because they don't think it's important to stay, because they think there's something better for them somewhere. Like, what is that? That must leave a scar like no other to a child. Like, her mom walked out when she was 9. So yeah, that was devastating to me. So the music in this movie is amazing, especially the Italian music and the song by Taylor Swift, "Love Story" at the end, which is just, I love Taylor Swift music, so that was a big yes for me. And but when they were like, "How many Lorenzo Bartolinis can there be?" and it was like 47 or 74, sorry, Dutch and English, 74 Lorenzo Bartolinis. Are you kidding me? But the good thing is that this is Sophie's specialty. She finds people, things, stuff, whatever. This is what she does as a fact checker. So this is perfect. So they make this map with all the red dots in it, and they make this circle, and I really like her approach. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I would do it the same way. So if I'm ever gonna need to find a Lorenzo Bartolini, this is how I'm gonna do it. And I love, Claire has so many amazing quotes throughout the movie. She's like, life is the messy bits, and there are so many great quotes. I'll come to more of them, but it's just amazing. And Charlie Charlie is just so skeptical and so rude, but kind of funny. No, like rude, but like in a way that challenges Sophie in a way she's not challenged often, I guess. Because he's like, you seem to bring out the worst in the very worst in me. All of this is your fault. And she's just like, okay. But then Sophie and Charlie go see the city, and they learn more about each other, and they talk, and he reads her story, and he tells her, like, you should really finish, you're really good. And in the end, he also tells her, like, you should finish this story. You have to write this story. You have to do that. And that's at the end as well, when she does that, when she hands in her story. And her boss is like, great, do you have anything else? And she's like, wait, what? And he's like, I'm gonna print this. This is a good story. And I was like, exactly. Perfection and being scared of doing the things you love will hold you back. But just doing it well and then just handing it in. At some point, you can't change or adjust anything anymore. You just have to hand it in. And then see what happens. And look what happened for her. Isn't that amazing? So I need to say a little bit. So there is a living statue in the movie who is completely in gold with one of those like screenplay turning camera thingies. I've always wanted to be a living statue for a day. I started reading this book. I haven't finished it still. The Art of Asking, by this woman who was a living statue, like a sad bride. For years, and it's just so amazing. I was like, I want to do that. I don't know what I would want to be, but I know I would want to do something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna one day be a living statue for a couple of days, or just like one day a week or something, because it just looks, it's so cool. Like, people throw in a coin and you make a move, or you send them a kiss, or I don't know, it's just got that something. So I love how Charlie said about perfectionism, that perfectionism comes from fear. It's just another way of saying you're a chicken, which is, I guess that's the British way of doing it. And the Lorenzo, when the woman is like, take him. These situations just made me laugh so much all the time. But also Charlie's quotes, though. There was one quote, if I found the love of my life, I wouldn't stand there like an idiot whispering from the garden. I would just grab her from the blasted balcony and be done with it. I was like, heck yeah, that's how you do it. You just say what you want, you say how you feel, and then you go for it. And these looks they exchange through the rearview mirror in the car, they change, right? Like, in the beginning, they're like grumpy against each other, and then in the end, they're smiling, gazing, just like, cute. So yeah, when Charlie is mean to Claire because they're at the graveyard, because there is a dead Lorenzo, and he's like, you don't know anything about loss. And then Claire is like, Charlie, you're wrong. Your parents loved you. Sophie's mother chose to leave her. And I was like, ugh, Charlie, you're wrong sometimes. Like, you gotta be more careful with the things you say sometimes. So, and then there is this other scene where Claire comes to Sophie and says, one of the greatest joys in life is having one's hair brushed. I mean, Claire is just amazing, right? She has so many great things that she says. And after Charlie says sorry, which is a wonderful little bit where Claire is like, Charlie, say you're sorry. And Charlie's like, yes, Gran, I'm not 12. But then they toast, and it's like, here is to all our loved ones, wherever they may be. And I'm like, yes, exactly. But then in the night, Charlie and Sophie kiss, even though Sophie is engaged, and Claire sees it. And then she, next day, is like, no, I'm going to sit in the back. I would love to stretch my legs. And she's singing Italian songs, and she's like, oh, the stars were so spectacular from my window. And then they go to a vineyard for a goodbye toast, and Claire recognizes one of the young guys, and she's like, that's Lorenzo. And they're like, that's not really possible. But then she's like, no. And then they get out and they're like, wait, but if this guy looks like him, then he should have a dad or a granddad. And they do, and they're all called Lorenzo. By the way, how easy is it to just tell everybody all the names? It's like, hello everybody, these guys are all called Lorenzo. And then you see that Charlie became an optimist throughout this whole story, because he's like, no, he could be here. And then Claire is like, but he might not recognize me. I was 15. And then Lorenzo comes in on a white horse, and he is this wonderful, beautiful man. And he tells Claire that she's beautiful, and she leans in and she hugs him. And then after a little bit, she closes her eyes, and you can just see that she is. Like, she becomes calm, and, like, she feels safe in his arms. Isn't that just beautiful? And then they have a family dinner at one of those wonderfully big tables with a whole lot of family. And they toast to destiny. And they talk about love and how it's never too late for love. And then Sophie leaves, and Charlie, before she leaves, because he doesn't know how to talk about that he loves her, he's like, promise me you'll write the story. That's what he says, which is also amazing. Even though I was like, no, you gotta tell her how you feel. Didn't happen, but oh well. And then, so a little bit about Sophie. Sophie is played by Amanda Seyfried, and I believe that very often when Amanda Seyfried plays a character, there are always these women with beautiful hearts and coming from a place of kindness, which is, I think, something we should always aspire to. So let's have some Claire quotes. An angel brought you to me. Darling, your family. So I think you'll understand when I tell you you're an idiot. How many Sophies do you think are on this planet? Don't wait 50 years like I did. Go. And I loved it. I was like, yes, exactly. Go, Claire. Go. But then Charlie goes after her, and he sees Claire on the balcony, and then he sees Victor, and Claire is unhappy, but he doesn't see that part. But she sees him driving away because he got back in the car, but then she gets an invitation to the wedding. And then he is with Patricia, but apparently there are two Patricias, and it's like, wait, what? And then he climbs up, because she's on the balcony and he's on the ground, and he climbs up, and then he almost gets to her, and he tells her all his feelings, and then he almost gets to her, and then he falls down, and I was literally like, yeah, you know what? I saw that coming. But then he's laying there on the ground, and she's like, oh my god, blah, 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 and he has just told her that he loves her, and she loves him, and it's all just beautiful and gorgeous, and they kiss, and that's what I call a happy ending. Thank you very much. So, a little bit that I wanted to say at the end of it is that in his speech, he says he wants to live with her. Even in overrated New York, he would even give up London for her. And after he falls, he's like, please tell me no one saw that. And she's like, nobody saw. Don't worry. Whereas everybody comes rushing at them. And the place is like a picture, like a scenery from a dream that you can't imagine it's real. But another thing about this movie is that the music. So I am so impressed by the art of getting the right song in the right movie at the right place in the movie with the right lyrics. I'm so impressed by people who do this. I think I've looked into this a little bit. I think it's like a specific job. I think there was a movie. Pitch Perfect. In that movie, the guy wants to become the person who does the songs behind the movies, right? Like that's so. I think it's a job, but I'm so impressed by people who do that job because that is. There are so many songs. There could be so many songs that fit behind a certain piece or a certain little bit in the movie, and yet they figure it out. They figure out which part fits best and how, which sentences from the song and the music, and I'm just so impressed by that. I mean, that is, if you can do that and you do that well, that is a skill, that is a gift, that is amazing. I'm so impressed. So yeah, I love this movie. I love the quotes. And so I'll just leave you with these two quotes. I think they're from Claire. I'm not entirely sure. It was like it's from the letter Sophie wrote to Claire. It was, what if can haunt you for the rest of your life, and you only need the courage to follow your own heart. And yeah, and that's all you need. You need the courage to follow your heart, and that's hard, but it's so worth it.